Welcome to Talk Commerce, where we explore how merchants, agencies, and developers experience commerce. This week we interview Sharon Lambert with Adobe from Dublin, Ireland. We talk about diversity in the Magento community and the steps we can take to bring more diversity to the community. Sharon suggests we do a panel on diversity for the next show. Brent makes a feeble attempt at an Irish accent, and Sharon gives us some action items to be inclusive in our own communities. Magento Creative, partnering with the client to help fulfill their strategic growth, serving the world as an Adobe Gold partner and BigCommerce Elite partner. Magento, the code of commerce. This episode is sponsored by eWay Corporation, the partner of choice for technology, infrastructure, and enterprise-level digital solutions. An AWS Select Consulting partner, eWay Corporation, forward together. My name is Brent Peterson, and I'm your host. Please remember to subscribe wherever you download your podcasts. And now, Talk Commerce. Welcome to Talk Commerce, our community edition. I have Sharon with us today, all the way from Ireland. Oh, that's a terrible. I'm not even going to try. Sharon, go ahead and you'll do a much better job of introducing yourself. Tell us about yourself, what you do, and what you do for fun.
I work for Adobe. I came as part of the Magento acquisition, so I've been there for 3 years, and my role is Partner Sales Enablement Manager. So really my job is to support the partner community in making sure they've got access to everything they need to build their practice. So, and I live, in Dublin, in Ireland.
Ireland.
Absolutely, yeah. And what I like to do for fun, I love going out. I have a husky, so we take our husky on walks all the time, and I love playing golf. I used to play at least 3 times a week, so I need to get back into it because I'm somewhat out of practice as all our golf courses have been closed. So that's my next job.
Yeah, soon, and hopefully soon they'll all open.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were just at Magento Connect. You were a speaker, and you were talking about diversity. And I would like to talk a little bit about diversity in our community, specifically the Adobe / Magento community. I know there's a lot of advocates for diversity out there and inclusion. So, kind of give us an overview of what your topic was about. And why did you come up with the topic?
Diversity and inclusion is close to my heart. It really is, because I think we're missing out on so much here. There is so many untapped communities, absolutely filled with talent and creativity. And I think we're not maximizing on that. And if we can grab hold some of that and bring that into our ecosystem, we will be so much better off. So that's really why I wanted to do it. And also because having worked at Adobe, I have become very aware of the importance of having a diverse workforce and being really inclusive. And like I'm an action co-leader for an initiative that they've been promoting for the last year that's got about 10,000 employees involved in it. I link in with lots of different companies who are also asking me about this. And so that's really why it's close to my heart. I think it's really, really important that we need to embrace everybody fully so that we get the best out of them, and also reach out to all those corners that we're not touching to get the talent into our ecosystem before somebody else does. So.
Do you think that there's a barrier in the current Magento community that keeps people away, or do you think it's just there's so many bald white males that some other people are intimidated?
There's a few bald white males. I think, people are reserved about coming forward and being more vocal in the community. I think we definitely need to mix it up and have a lot more diversity, but it's one thing saying it, it's actually another thing doing it and putting it into practice. These things don't happen by accident, they happen as a result of being proactive. And I think that's what we need to do, is we need to make a plan of action and we need to follow through on it so that these people feel fully involved and included, that everybody, it doesn't matter where they're from, what they look like, who they are, that they recognize that this is a diverse community and that they feel fully embraced by us and that they can see themselves in other people in our community. And, you know, at the moment that isn't happening as much as I think it should be. So
yeah, you've really keyed on a good point. See ourselves in that community. And I think that having people involved helps all of that. And I'll comment that I'm in a local community here in Minneapolis called Entrepreneurs Organization, and I'm on the diversity committee because we are stricken with white males on our board. And part of my board role is I'm the membership chair, and so I'm reaching out to people in our community. Would you like to join our organization? And you know, women would say, well, you know, I can see your board is 100% males. I'm really interested in getting something more diverse. So there is a definite roadblock from what is represented in the community to why somebody would join. Can you help us understand some of the ways that we could work on making sure that everybody feels included?
yeah. I mean, I know you're on the diversity committee panel. So who else is on that? Do you have like diverse representation on your, you know, committee there? And that's part of the I think part of the problem, part of the roadblock is that we've got all these boards and we, you know, I think we're getting better at it, but really it is not diverse enough. It's not reflective of the society that we are living in. And if you look at the stats, particularly in the US, the number of young Black people in the US is phenomenal. I mean, you know, those people are all working and we need to tap into that. It far outweighs, you know, any other community. And so that's something that we should really be pushing for, but we're not. So I think people are afraid of change. People are afraid to put themselves forward. People in the community that we're looking for to join are afraid to be the first one, you know, when there's nobody else there that will support them or that they feel will support them. So we've really got to go at this gung-ho and make this a concerted effort. And I think, you know, that really this should be charged by all of us. We all have a duty in this. It can't just be down to one person or one organization. You know, we have to, I think, get together. We should set up a panel ourselves, you know, Brent, to include partners and merchants and people on the Magento Association. So we've got a whole diverse mix, you know, and from other organizations, and really get this moving, because you know, we're always looking for people. We want to grow our ecosystem and we can't do it, you know. So I think that's part of the roadblock, is that we're kind of in catch-22 at this moment. We're not diverse enough to attract all the diverse people that we want to be involved.
Yeah, so my first comment on that was, you've just volunteered yourself to create a panel with myself to get more community. So I appreciate that. So let's just dig into what you've just said a little bit. So one thing that you commented on was young Black males or young Black people in general in being involved in our community. I think that's worldwide. I think that if we go from a global standpoint, including other continents, and I think Africa is one that's very underrepresented in any tech community.
Yeah.
And there's such a vibrant culture there and a lot of opportunities there for everybody. And it does take an outreach to get to those people, to bring them to our community. And part of that is to make sure that they feel like they're included. The second part is maybe some kind of a seed event. And I know I've been proposing smaller Meet Magento events that would go to somewhere like Kenya or Tanzania, and it doesn't have to be a
Mm,
huge $100,000 budgeted event. It could just be a mini event, but it shouldn't be
yeah,
called a meetup, because I think a meetup is just something that denotes something as just some people getting together. If you call it Meet Magento, and you don't expect a ton of people, and the organization doesn't expect $5,000 from the organizer, and they also don't expect somebody local to put it on, then some of those things are going to happen. So some of the roadblocks that I've seen in our community have been around money, have been around
yeah.
in local people being interested in doing this, and then a way to have some way of seeding that to that
Mm,
community. um, all right, so back to inclusion and diversity. um, One of the so I'm on this board, and I said at one point, I said, why am I on this board? I'm not diverse. I'm the opposite of what is needed. And
mm,
the lady who runs it said, we need people to be aware, and if you're not aware of it not being diverse, then nobody's aware of it, and it's going to continue going. I think we're 85% male or something like that in our local chapter of entrepreneurs organization. So part of this is being aware, and then part of it would be bringing people that are more diverse onto the board, and then I could step down. So kind of piggybacking what you said, getting people involved and aware to bring those people to the table to talk about this.
yeah. I think what you said there actually about, going over to Africa was very interesting. And I mean, you could even do that on a smaller scale in your community and have more events that relate to interest and culture of those groups, to get them involved and make the contact so that we can start networking with them. And then, you know, they'll be more comfortable to come into our ecosystem, but I do think it's really important.
Do you think it's reasonable for us to say that we're not diverse, in the sense that the Magento community has very few women involved?
We're not as diverse as we need to be. I mean, let's lay it on the table. We're definitely not. We need to be a lot more creative, I think, about how we get people involved. And also, there are quite a lot of women involved, Brent, but again, they don't put themselves forward. They're not out there vocalizing these things. They're in the background. I mean, I spoke to someone who was a project manager at a big partnership, very, very talented person. And I said, you need to be out there speaking. But, at this moment in time, they're not comfortable on it. I am working on it. I'm not giving up. But I do think we have talent, but it's often in the background. So the people fronting it aren't necessarily as diverse as we need. But we know that there is diversity in organizations, and we need to bring that to the fore so that everybody, no matter who you are, feels comfortable about being your authentic self and speaking out.
Yeah, so that brings me to my next topic, because you said project
Okay.
manager, and traditionally the Magento community has been formed around developers.
Yeah.
And so I used to be sort of a developer, so I felt like I could sort of fit in. But my role when I organized Mage Titans events was to open it to everybody, not just developers. And I felt like there was a definite exclusion of the rest of the ecosystem in a lot of those
Mm-hmm.
events, which also happened in the regular Meet Magento events. You do have a strictly commercial side. So you have all these salespeople that really don't care about how the product works. Well, they care about how the product works. Okay, I'm just going to generalize salespeople in general right now. They just want to sell something, right? And they're going to sell it any way they can. They don't necessarily care about the underpinnings of it. And a lot of salespeople also don't necessarily care about the ecosystem and the community that's involved in that product. Then you have the developers on the other end who, in an open source community, are so involved in it. And as an underrepresented big group are the middle people, the project managers, the solution specialists, the agency heads, the designers that are all from our strictly Magento community are excluded. And so maybe when I said that there was fewer women, I was saying in terms of the core. I shouldn't even say core, because then I'm just falling into a perpetual stereotype, that we need to include everybody in the Magento ecosystem, no matter what their role is.
Yeah, I do think you're absolutely right. I mean, I felt completely overawed when I first came into the community, because there's all these talented, dev people that I can't even begin to compare what I do with what they do. I mean, the talent off the Richter scale. And so it is quite intimidating, and it took me a while to find my feet, and also to be confident that there are other ways to contribute to the community apart from, your technical knowledge and talent. And I think we need to enable people to do that more. So
yeah, I think one thing that we've been promoting is this sort of merchant hackathon. So there's always been the tradition about a hackathon in Magento that will push back to core code. But one thing that hasn't happened or has happened in very few instances is a merchathon or merchant docathon, or whatever you want to call it, where the merchant can come and they can say, here's what I've been doing in Magento, but here's nobody really knows. There's no standard way to do this, and here's how I think this could happen. And then having a content person, maybe from Adobe, helping to put some of that content back into now Adobe Commerce to help everybody learn from some of those experiences. And that gives a role and a voice for a lot of those different people in our community, outside of just being a developer. So,
yeah, and it would really help escalate sort of, the roadmap, and improve the products. I mean, I think that's a really good idea.
So do you think there's sort of a wall that kind of separates developers and the rest of us? I'm going to take myself out of the developer camp, but in these specific let's meet Magentos and those type of things, is there a wall that kind of puts the developers aside from the other business side?
I think there was. And I think some of it is the psychological wall that people create for themselves. I mean, I know I did, but I think that we are much better. I mean, all the events have, merchant tracks, business tracks, technical tracks. So we're catering. We are getting better and catering for everybody. But it's just, we can't afford to settle. And there is so much more room for improvement.
Have you seen
with initiatives like you just said? I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, so what I've noticed in Adobe in the at the Adobe Summit is that they are incredibly diverse, and I don't think they are trying to be diverse. I just think that's the way Adobe is settling out. Would you agree with that statement?
I actually wouldn't. I have to tell you that they make so much effort. There are so many different things going behind the scenes every single day to make sure that we are diverse in everything we do. Even this morning, I was on a call just about the Dublin office, and we were talking about an initiative we wanted to do. Simple thing, just a compilation of videos, and somebody said, let's make a list of the people that we've got so we know we've got a diverse mix of everybody in there. But honestly, there's so much effort, I can't begin to tell you, that goes on in Adobe to make sure that we are diverse. That it's been quite inspirational for me and very educational, and it makes you very self-aware and aware of your own sort of, biases and gaps you have and you continue to learn every day. We've got to be self-aware and keep trying to be better.
Yeah, so that, I mean, I'm really happy to hear that. And I think that leads to us in the Magento / now Adobe, whatever we're going to call ourselves. I think it's still the Magento community. I think
It
that
is open source is the Magento community.
right.
Yeah.
So we need to be making a concerted effort to move this forward, and it has to be everybody that makes this effort. And I think that we all have to make some noise in our community to make this effort to make us more diverse and invite people in. And just like you were saying, Adobe makes it looks at who's on that roster to make sure that you're being diverse. I think that in our Magento community, we have to look at who is coming to our events, and how can we reach out to other people and other communities that may not know about us as an organization, and how can we make somebody that isn't specifically involved with Magento, but maybe they're involved with e-commerce. How can we make that type of person welcome at a Magento event? And I think that part of the issue is that we get so tied up in the commercial side of Magento. You know, the sales side kind of the sales side delivers the sponsors who deliver the money to really put on the event, and the development side delivers the content. We need to have that sort of middle ground where we're bringing in some neutral platforms or people or types of things. Can you comment a little bit about so Dublin is becoming more diverse? How is your office in Dublin? Are you seeing a lot of different types of people joining Adobe there? And I think people were coming from all over the world as Magento sort of got rolled into Adobe.
We have quite a diverse group in the Dublin office. I have to say, we've got a lot of Europeans. We have a couple of Americans actually that came to join us. We've got a massive Asian community as well. And we need to work harder on other communities like, you know, Hispanic and Black communities. We are probably underrepresented in terms of the Black community, and I think we can do better on that, but we have some proactive strategies and we are trying to invite more of these people. But I think the thing is, Brent, that we've got to start where education joins. So we need to start early while these people are still in education, and we need to link in with the colleges. I know that on the creative side, Adobe's done very well with that, and they have got some global initiatives going to get young people who are at college, you know, using the software and sort of celebrating all their accomplishments. But we don't do that with the platform, with our Magento platform. And not only that, also for the other Adobe solutions, I think we're missing, you know, some core talent there that we could be latching onto. And I mean, we could attack this sort of globally if we're linking with the colleges and we provide some basic sort of training, and they've got route pathways into partners where they can do some work experience, or at Adobe or in merchant organizations or whatever it is, where they can get some on the ground experience while they're still learning, you know, as part of a development program. And that way we've brought them into the community as a natural organic process. And I mean, once you're in, you're kind of hooked.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And we've looked at, you know, especially in Mexico, because the Mexican Magento community is pretty small and it's hard to get people involved. We have looked at University of Colima as a place where we could sort of do some outreach and bring in some developers or juniors that would be interested in learning Magento and doing some kind of an intern program. We've done an intern program here in Minneapolis where we brought in 4 developers and put them through a 12-week sort of boot camp on Magento. So there are definitely, you know, ways that we can bring in that type of talent. Part of this is that we need to be able to get some support from Adobe on some of those things to help push that. And I know before Magento U was folded into ADLS, we had some initiatives going where we were talking about a 12-week boot camp and how can agencies get people in on a 12-week boot camp. And my hope is somehow some of those grassroots initiatives get back in.
Yeah. So, again, if we're forming a panel, maybe we can do that for this as well, and bring in some people from the educational side, some leaders from Adobe that are willing to, back this initiative, because at the end of the day, it means that we're training people up on our solutions, growing the community, and it brings talent in. So everybody wins all around. There really is no downside to this, and it expands our diversity right across the globe. So that would be good for everybody. So I'm sure that, I would hope that Adobe would take this on board and be supportive of that. There's lots of things, that they could do that would be minimal cost. I definitely have some ideas about how we could sort of structure that. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got some calls to make, Brent.
There we go. Yeah, boy, we're getting a lot of to-dos out of this. I heard in Dublin that one of the problems with diversity is getting people from the north side to join because you can't understand what they're saying. That was a joke. So just a full confession, I did own a business in Dublin in the 90s. It was on Upper Dorset Street. And my people that we rented from were North Dublin, and so I got very used to that accent. Right across from the Wax Museum, which is gone now.
Yeah. The Irish people tend to speak very fast, and you get different accents all around the country. So even for me, sometimes I'm like, hey, slow down there.
It's like, exactly. Good. So, as we kind of close up here, what are some things that you could say as an action that we could be doing as a community right now to bring people in?
We've got to reach out. We have to reach out. So we need to, as you say, it can be quite intimidating for people to suddenly turn up at, an organized Meet Magento event. So I think when we're opening up and we've got safe spaces, if we can have sort of more social things in the local communities where we can start engaging with these people and networking with, people from different communities. I think that's how we're going to do it. But I mean, we've got to be brave, we've got to be creative, and we just have to get on and do it. We haven't really got time to be wasting. Hey, look, there's good jobs here. It's an amazingly talented community that they'd be joining. So there's no downside really to it.
Yeah, and it's free. It's an open source community. I agree with that. I think it takes people that want to make a change, and that some change has to happen by action. So as many little actions as we can take, they turn into bigger actions, and that's sort of a snowball effect, which helps us to grow and diversify as a community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I know your role is with Adobe, and you came from Magento. So what if a merchant was asking you something right now, what sort of thing could you tell them that would be one big good thing from a merchant standpoint that you could give as an action item?
I would tell merchants now that actually came from Magento Commerce, there are so many great ways to use your data to give the customer the best experience, linking in with other Adobe solutions like Experience Manager, which is a content management system, Target, so they can really, really refine and they get the data on who's looking at their site, how many people, where they're from, what products they've shown interest in, and using AI. That's definitely key for the future. So there is so many resources. Don't be afraid to contact your customer success manager and ask them. Keep up to date with all the events that are going on and all the ebooks and other resources that Adobe releases at Magento. So and join us in the community. You know, you need to be an engaged member of the community. We share so much information and so much love, but so much knowledge that if you're not in that, you're missing it. And it's key for the future because things are moving so fast. Your whole business plan could turn in 6 months. So, you know, we've got to be on the ball.
I'm also excited about, you know, Adobe Sensei, which is the AI product, and that's part of it. That is part of Magento Commerce, or it is an integration into Magento Commerce, which you can start using as a user today. There's all kinds of fantastic Adobe tools now that are being integrated directly into it now, Adobe Commerce, that helps every merchant grow on this platform. And like you said, headless is this new thing that's happening out there, and Experience Manager is such a great product to create content for that headless solution. But we don't want to make this into Adobe commercial, so we'll stop there. All right, so the last little thing that I always do is I give you a chance to give a shameless plug. So I would love it for you to say something about what is your passion right now that you would like to kind of promote.
Okay. Well, obviously, apart from India, and I know things are starting to change there, but honestly, those people have had such a hard time that I would hope everybody would have made a contribution, has shared information to try and create awareness and make a change there. But in addition to that, Brent, I have one. My nephew was diagnosed with leukemia when he was 3, and he was undergone 3 and a bit years of chemo. And he's now free. But honestly, I went to Great Ormond Street, and obviously over here we have Temple Street, but, you know, donate to your children's hospital. They do such incredible work, you know, and if you saw the children and the families, it's just heart-rendering. It really is. So, you know, the children wouldn't be here today without care and devotion they get from the nursing community and those specialized hospitals. So that would be my plug, is if you can afford $1, you know, €1, it all helps. Every penny adds up.
Great, that's super. Thank you. And my daughter, when we were in Ireland, she was 9 months old, and we ended up in Great Ormond Street. She had some GI issues that they were very kind. There was a doctor that came out to our hotel and charged us £5 at the time. it was an incredible service that we got from the Irish healthcare system. So I can't speak more things about that. Great talking today. And I know we have a lot of follow-up things to do now. We have a panel to plan and lots of things in the community that's going to happen. We have events that are going to get started. I saw UK, Meet Magento UK is going to happen live, and they're getting speakers and so many fun things that hopefully that are going to be opening up next year. And hopefully there's a summit 2022. That's what I'm really, really excited about. It'll be the first sort of integrated Magento in-person Adobe Magento Summit.
Yes, it will. Yeah, of course.
In 2019, it was separate, and 2020 was canceled, and of course, 2021 was canceled. So, well, thank you again, and I really appreciate your passion for diversity and everything you're doing for our community.
Oh, thanks, Brent. It's been great talking to you today. Nice to catch up.
Yep. Cheers.
Thank you.
Magento Creative, partnering with the client to help fulfill their strategic growth, serving the world as an Adobe Gold partner and BigCommerce Elite partner. Magento, the code of commerce. This episode has been sponsored by the partner of choice for technology, infrastructure, and enterprise-level digital solutions, an AWS Select Consulting partner, EMEA Corporation, Forward Together. Thank you again for listening. My name is Brent Peterson, and it has been my pleasure to be your host today. Please rate and subscribe to Talk Commerce. New shows out every week.